It's a dead rubber for Game 2 of the Bledisloe Cup this weekend. You could argue, well, there's not a lot to play for. The Rugby Championship is off the cards for both teams, and the Bledisloe Cup is locked away nicely in the All Blacks cabinet once again. However, when these two teams play against each other, there is always something to play for. The Wallabies, they haven't won in New Zealand since 2001. There's a bit of motivation there, and they'll take a lot of confidence out of that second half in particular against the All Blacks in Sydney last weekend. And for the All Blacks, they haven't had a great record in Wellington. They have, I think, since 2018, they haven't won there. That's 3 losses and 2 draws. But they haven't been finishing games very well too. So that's going to be a bit of a motivator to try and finish well in this game. Sam Cane's 100th test, and I think it's TJ Perenara's last All Blacks test on home soil, specifically in Wellington being the key point there, his home ground. So let's take a look at the teams. I'm going to try and keep this pretty brief. No changes to the front row for the All Blacks. Let's start with them. Ethan de Groot, Cody Taylor and Tyrell Lomax, no changes there, and steady as she goes, really. No surprises, and I don't think anyone else would think there should be any change there either. Scott Barrett, Tupou Vaa'i, the locking combination once again, and Tupou Vaa'i has really played himself into a starting spot this year. Of course, Patrick Tuipulotu hasn't really had opportunities through injury. Wallace Satiti, Sam Cane, Adi Savia, no change in the loose forward trio there as well, and I think, probably a bit of consistency in the forward pack there. There's no real luxury of being able to change a lot of personnel in the team and giving other guys a go because of how close it was last weekend. So well done to Australia there, putting a bit of pressure on the All Blacks, although the odds wouldn't suggest this is going to be a close game. But TJ Perenara, B.Barrett formed the halves pairing, a change from last weekend, and that combination has played a lot together, certainly in Wellington, so it might just be more a case of that, I think, than anything else. In my opinion, I think Damian McKenzie has started every test for the All Blacks this year, so he probably needs, I guess part of the argument might be he needs a bit of a rest, but certainly it'll be a pretty important occasion for TJ Perenara and B.Barrett to play alongside each other in Wellington, probably for the last time. Caleb Clarke is on the left wing, no change there, and he is the premier left winger for the All Blacks at the moment. I think that's probably an area of where there needs to be a little bit more depth on their left wing in particular, and if we're talking about Rieko Ioane, maybe that's where Rieko Ioane should be playing at the moment, because he hasn't really been performing that well in centre, and a lot of people have been calling for that change. Anton Lienert-Brown comes in at inside centre, or second 5/8, depending where you come from. And now, no real surprise there, Jordie Barrett's injured, so something had to give. Anton Lienert-Brown is certainly that best option available, and possibly should have been starting in the midfield in some capacity anyway. But Anton Lienert-Brown comes in for Jordie Barrett, and the consistency in the midfield is kept with Rieko Ioane. I don't have a whole lot of issues with that, but look, Rieko Ioane he really needs to fire probably in this one. Sevi Reece on the right wing. Yeah, I mean, that you can't go too wrong there. You got Mark Talia and other, one or two other options, but Sevi Reece will be solid. He'll be busy. I don't know. There could be a little room for opportunity there. Right wing, there's a bit of depth in the All Blacks. Left wing is probably where that more interesting concern may be. Will Jordan at fullback, of course. B.Barrett starting at 10. Damian McKenzie is on the bench, spoiler alert, but Will Jordan starting at fullback, and I think he needs more game time there as well to get a bit more comfortable. But he played pretty well last week and certainly started very well. On the reserves, Asofa Omoa, Tamaiti Williams and Pasilio Tosi are the front row reserves. Look, I think that's pretty predictable as well. No Fletcher Newell, I think he's injured at the moment, and Tosi, he's just needs to add to his 2 tests there. He played for the Hurricanes, so kind of a home game for him as well. So I'd like to see him with a bit more game time. Patrick Tuipulotu is the lock reserve, and it's good to sort of see him back from injury. Hopefully we do see a little bit more game time from him this week. Luke Jacobson is the loose forward reserve. No surprise there either. Cortez Ratama on the bench. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't really feel like the All Blacks have a luxury of bringing in a young kid like Hotham or something like that. Cortez Ratama either starting or with TJ, or vice versa with TJ Perenara, but Cortez Ratama played really well last week, and I think he could probably offer quite a bit of impact, and that's what he'll be looking to do. Damien McKenzie on the bench. He has played on the bench quite a bit in his time for the All Blacks over the years, and can cover fly half and fullback. I don't think there's anything worth really reading into it more than maybe just a rest and giving another opportunity for TJ Perenara and B.Barrett to play alongside each other. David Havili is the outside back reserve who can cover pretty much most backline positions outside of, well, he has played a bit of fly half for the Crusaders this year. Not a heck of a lot of success, but the Crusaders were pretty average. But he can cover that in inside, outside centre and fullback as well. So I guess that's what they were leaning towards for that position, but there was a number of other players that could have come on as a back reserve. So David Havili comes into the reserves at the expense of, I guess, because Geordie Barrett's injured. So Anton Leonard-Brown comes into the starting lineup. So not a heck of a lot of changes there. Relatively predictable in my opinion. There'll be a lot of people calling for a little bit more change there to mix things up a little bit. I am pretty comfortable with that. I don't really have many issues with it. I think they need to make sure of the game and the result before the All Blacks get too carried away. Unfortunately, this year they might not have too many opportunities to give young fellas a go unless there is one or two opportunities at the end of your tour. So anyway, so that's the lineup. There's probably a lot of talking points for a lot of people in that, but for me, I think it's pretty sound. And as arrogant or whatever this may sound, the fact is I don't really care, or whatever the All Blacks put out on the park in terms of personnel, they should win this one comfortably, shouldn't they? Let's be honest. And then Australia, let's start with them. No changes in the forward pack. Angus from last week, Angus Bell, Matt Faisler and Taniela Tupou make up the front row. Nick Frost, Jeremy Williams, the locking combination. Rob Valentini, Fraser McCright and Harry Wilson make up the loose forward combination. So no real surprise there. I wouldn't change too much there myself. I probably would have put Lukan Solakaya-Loto in there at starting lock, but he has been coming back from injury and offered really good impact off the bench last weekend. So probably, either way there, of course, Jeremy Williams is the captain of the force, so he had a pretty good Super Rugby campaign, and Fraser McCright played really well last week. Jake Gordon is the new halfback. He comes in for Nick White. And I guess Nick White didn't really offer what maybe they were hoping for. I don't know what they were expecting. He offered exactly what I expected. And he didn't do too badly. Maybe he was injured, but he didn't do too badly in the sense that the Wallabies came right back into that game. But Jake Gordon has been the preferred starting halfback option this year, so he comes back in. Noah Lolesio at starting fly half. No surprise there. He is the pick of the bunch. Dylan Peach starts on the left wing because Korobeti is injured. He has a wrist injury. Hunter Paisami and Len Ikitau make up the midfield combination as they did last week. No change there, and they seem to be the preferred combination for the Wallabies at the moment, and I would largely agree with that. Andrew Callaway on the right wing and Tom Wright at fullback, no change there as well, and I don't think, there's been a couple of injuries to outside backs for the Wallabies, so that is probably the best combination they can offer at the moment. Dylan Peach, he's played 3 tests, but this will be his first start in a Wallabies jersey. On the reserves, you've got Brendan Paonga Amosa, and he backing up. He's played last week. Isaac Kalia, he wasn't on the bench last week. That was James Slipper who made the record for Wallabies tests, and we might not see James Slipper again in the Wallabies jersey. Who knows? Maybe it was just one of those opportunities to keep him going so he could set the record. I don't know. However, whatever. Alan Alatoa, he is on the bench, and as I said before, Lukan Solakaya-Loto is on the bench as well. So Lunga Gleeson backing up from last week. He offered quite a bit of impact as the loose forward reserve last week. A bit of a surprise to me. So he will be looking to do the same thing. Tate McDermott backing up as he did. He was the bench halfback last week, and for me, I think they probably need to persevere with Tate McDermott. I feel like he's their future 9, especially because Nick Nick White and Jake Gordon are relatively long in the tooth. And then you've got Ben Donaldson coming onto the bench instead of the young fella, I can't remember his name, plays for Queensland. And then you've got Josh Fluke on the bench, who covers the midfield more than anything. But there might be some options to mix players up for outside back cover. Josh Fluke had a very good season for Queensland this year, if you do ask me. So I think he is a future pretty decent player, a pretty handy player, and he will get his opportunities for the Wallabies as future goes. Liner was the reserve fly half last week. So that's my take on the teams. The odds suggest an absolute whitewash to the All Blacks. They are paying in New Zealand here $1.06. They're not the bookmakers are not giving you anything to win this game. I'm picking Cody Taylor as a try scorer. I think that on the back of Ricky Riccatelli's 4-try effort last night for Taranaki, he might get a bit of inspiration, but 4 tries for a hooker is pretty impressive and one worth mentioning. But yeah, certainly I've got Cody Taylor there as a try scorer. I think there's going to be a number of tries. I don't know what the weather's doing. Wellington can be pretty interesting from a weather point of view. I'm picking All Blacks 13 plus, and they want to win, really well. This will be the last test on home soil for this year. So look for them to make a big statement. I thought they would do that last week, and they did, certainly in the first 25 minutes. So I could easily be wrong, but that is, I'm expecting big things. So let's wait and see. That's my take on the teams. Not many changes, no real surprises there. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoy the game. And thanks for watching, if you have. Thanks.